Hi, I'm Clappy. I've been involved with the furry community for about 3 years. 3 years is far from any sort of veteran status, if there even is a sort of veteran status to achieve. I'm more of a new recruit who's really passionate about starting out. You could easily find more channels that have both uploaded longer than I have and been in the community for more time. I haven't attended any fur meets, and I haven't done enough to class myself as a practical furry expert. I don't have hands-on experience that a lot of other creators and people in my scene may be accustomed to. Unfortunately, I don't have divine old age wisdom. I'm just some strange animal that's monologuing into a microphone. If I were to say anything, perhaps just to give me some authority on this topic, I have poured countless hours into this fandom and the online scene. Through this, I believe I have a pretty decent grasp on the fandom's concepts, goals, and ideas, at least through a wider and conceptual lens on what we are, why we're here, and how we got to this point as a community. I'm forever learning, and I've only focused my attention on this fandom for the past few years. Despite the short amount of time that I've existed here, I've experienced an odd behavior and title pushed upon me, that being the role of a furry savior. I'm sure the same title has been placed onto some of my contemporaries. In fact, I know they have. Occasionally, some people will lump me into groups of other creators that share this furry savior title. Maybe they'll add the footnote on how we're carrying the community on our backs, or some equally hyperbolic statement. Editor's note here, I want to add on the context that I am largely covering what other creators have been called. I'm not near the level of notoriety to receive constant praise like this. View it as though I'm responding to both comments towards me, but mostly others. They share the same response. Anyway, I'll let myself explain what I interpret the label to mean. To be more specific, I'm talking about the people who view me and others as protecting the fandom, like we're some sort of gatekeeping police force, or a group of superheroes that are exposing zoos and pedos for the well-being of the fandom. And hey, whilst I appreciate the gesture to encourage my videos, in genuine honesty, I couldn't disagree with you more. Nor do I think a title like that should be encouraged. I'm extremely hesitant to like those comments or appreciate the gesture with how uncomfortable it really makes me. The comments stem from the mentality of the furry fandom is dying, or in some sort of way requires saving. Some culture, some person, or some group which is killing the fandom from the inside out. Or there is an influx of just terrible people that must be addressed now, or we will suffer community-wide consequences. Often I've been prompted to discuss problems about a specific furry or fandom-wide issues. This could be someone asking me to cover a specific story, or in their words, expose a person, or it could be someone asking me to cover a whole problem that may be existing within the community, the purpose of which is to bring awareness and shun these people out of the fandom. Again, not in my words. I want to reiterate that these comments are made in appreciation of my videos. I am in no way upset at the individuals who message me or comment on my videos saying that I'm saving the fandom. They're supposed to encourage me that I'm doing the right thing, and that my videos are having an impact in a positive way. It's something that I'm supposed to interpret well. I'm sure there are numerous YouTubers who would appreciate the gesture, namely the type of people that would use the comment to fuel their god complex. But I, nor is any one of my contemporaries any sort of furry savior. We aren't going to change the world with gameplay commentaries. I'm not sure what role in protection people believe we play in this fandom. They may see my content as stopping zoophiles from entering the fandom, but I don't think this is true. I can't stop people from being a furry. The definition of the term is subjective. Anyone is capable of identifying as a furry through their own means. Whilst I am disappointed and saddened to share a community with these people, I can do nothing to change that. I would be a fool to think that I'm changing zoophiles' lives through my videos. That sort of rehabilitation takes immense care and mental treatment, of which I am not skilled enough to provide. If you think that you can change someone's opinion just by attacking them, then you've got a few lessons that you probably should learn in life. Videos covering zoophiles like the ones I make, that doesn't stop people from being zoophiles. It is incredibly hard to change someone's mind or their lifestyle just by criticizing them. At least if you're criticizing them the way that my content does. You would have to talk on an equal playing field rather than down to them, of which videos like mine don't typically do. And frankly, I shouldn't have any desire to convert zoophiles away from our fandom. If I were to tackle the problem of zoophiles, which I wouldn't mind doing in the future, it would be far more worth my time just to tackle zoophiles on a societal level rather than just within the fandom. There are absolutely no parallels between what furries are and what zoophiles are. An attempt to minimize zoophiles within the fandom would be unnecessary and indifferent. Let's say that I wanted to fund mental health campaigns or studies into the causation of zoophilia. That way we could target catalysts like family abuse or childhood trauma. Neither of these approaches would require going through the furry fandom. I would essentially be adding another step into the process and using furries as a middleman for no particular reason. If I were to use my videos, or more realistically the money that they make, then I could start or fund these mental health campaigns. Less zoophiles in the world mean less zoophiles in the fandom. It's a pretty simple process from there. At its current stage, my videos do not do that. They are entertainment that is mixed in with some educational content that is intended for audiences of somewhat decent people. Other than that, people may be thinking that I'm helping the fandom clean itself up, and I may know why this is. Due to social pressure and the discrimination that furries are faced with, withholding a clean public image is often so vital to a lot of furries. And I think that out of desperation, a lot of people will turn to channels like mine to act as a vessel for their anger, so that I can use my platform to enforce the rules and laws which stop bad furries from getting in. Essentially, they feel like something has to be done and they want to outsource that work to us. I find a lot of these people, despite being furries, harbor some internalized hatred to their own community. I couldn't count the number of comments calling me the only good furry, and much like those comments frame all other furries as bad, the ones calling me a furry savior frame all other furries as not being saviors. Like I'm the one doing a good job and everyone else is just slacking around doing nothing. I'm not responsible for making this fandom look good, nor is anyone else. We do not need to prove our existence. People aren't mandated to call out every single bad furry they see simply to show people that's not what furries look like. We already know that furries aren't like Kira the Wolf. Furry is a positive thing. They're a great community of people allowing basic human expression. We don't need to prove to everyone that we're a good community to those people who are insensible to think otherwise. It's their fault for generalizing us, not ours. What I'm saying is I'm not more of a savior than any other Twitch furry or vlogger furry. How is the bar for what determines a quote-unquote good furry? Those who call bad furries out. That's not a fair expectation to make. Furries are doing all that they need to do just by existing. That is enough for the culture to be okay because the culture is already okay. Maybe it's because the people that say this are frequent consumers of this genre of content. That isn't a negative, mind you. I wouldn't be creating this content if I wasn't a huge fan of it. However, it's undoubtedly true if you only consume content that is negative, you're gonna leave with a twisted view of something. So just as consumers of crime dramas overestimate the presence of police and crime in their country, consuming content about terrible furries can lead to overestimating the number of bad furries that there are. The content that I make is not indicative of how many terrible furries there are. At the end of the day, I don't want people to leave with a negative view on the fandom. The people that I talk about are not representative of the wider community. Your personal experiences do not inform overarching generalizations. So now let's apply those ideas to this genre of commentary. I'm not helping zoophiles recover, and the furry image does not need to be saved if it's inherently a positive thing. So if we were to contribute to the fandom, what would we be doing? I make it sound like the content is bad all round, but that's not true. People should be aware of bad people and bring attention to those problems that need to be fixed. Although I think these problems should be applied to the real world and not just isolated to the furry fandom. If you noticed, I try to add context to each story. I try applying it to the real world and the consequences on the fandom itself. Or I just have fun with the story. Because I love these stories. I find them enthralling. I grew up most of my life consuming true crime shows. And admittingly, that's not the type of content that should have been shown to a kid at that age, but it developed into an interest for the underbelly of society, the truly evil people that this world holds. I don't make videos on these sorts of people to say that Kira the Wolf is ruining the fandom, or Hypnotist Sappho is the reason we're hated. I find these stories to be incredibly interesting. It's fascinating to me how these people can be so messed up. It's almost like it's morbid entertainment. And if their stories themselves provide anything, it should be entertainment. My videos, however, aren't just a broken record repeating one bad story after the next. You'll notice that a lot of my videos try to sprinkle in extra information about the fandom, or how it is that these stories have been abused to create slander against furries. Kira the Wolf is a prime example. The story has been ruthlessly used to attack furries in the furry fandom. It's completely unfair. It ruined such a fascinating story to talk about. My video on the topic spent almost half of its runtime talking about the media representation, basically coming out with the conclusion that it's nothing but a moral panic, where extreme cases are overrepresented to create an irrational fear of an entire community. And that's what my videos try to avoid. I would love if people came out with a better understanding of how the fandom is treated. I am genuinely so invested in this fandom. I take pride in my own identity and the fandom as a whole. So many of these cute fluffy animals have changed their own lives and lives like mine. We would be blind to ignore the effects that furries have and the amazingly talented people that we house. There is so much that I would love to do to help and encourage a better community which shows these talents. I want to give to people the same way that people have given to me, but I don't want to do that by acting as some sort of savior for the fandom. I like to tell stories. I enjoy true crime crime and I often just like to have fun. If you think that I'm here to expose zoophiles, then I'm not doing anything new. Not only would it be probably immoral for a 17-year-old to be in that sort of business, but the people that I talk about are already documented. Whether that means I just act like a catalog for these individuals, that's up to your interpretation, although that's not my personal motive. I love watching people make the same content that I do, the amazing storytelling and the engaging way that they present the stories. I like to explain how our fandom is stigmatized, the effect that furry hate has on the fandom and disproving many of the arguments. If people don't want to do that, that's fine. As I said, no one is obligated to make this fandom look good. We aren't saviors in any way. We're just weird people making videos on the internet. Let's say we do appoint a savior for the fandom. Who do we appoint? Well, let's appoint me. What does that mean for me and what restrictions are placed on what I do? If I'm the savior, I cannot act like a degenerate. I have to act conventionally normal because I'm the savior. I have to hold this pristine image. What freedoms are you taking away by placing that label? Let alone thinking that every furry needs to be a savior, that every furry needs to be an ambassador for their community. Do you think that furries who are just people are going to have the mental fortitude to collectively uphold a positive image? That's not going to happen. That can't happen because the fandom is filled with human beings. I'm not making these videos to protect anyone. This channel is a representation of me, my love of true crime, storytelling, writing, a show that I liked, and I like to tell that in a way which is interesting to me because this is my channel. It's not the fandom's channel, it's me. And doesn't that sound a little too simple to be a savior, don't you think?